Today we talk spell and sword in D&D.
Yep, we're going over the Eldritch Knight and 5 go-to spells for Tier 1.
I'm Nerdarchy Ted.
And I'm Nerdarchy Steve. Welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds.
Now it's time to let the magic happen.
Alright, Eldritch Knights are a third caster, and Tier 1 is only first level spells for them.
And that's going to be only wizard spells, but also a limitation of only abjuration or evocation, but they get, an additional spell of choice.
If you want to keep the magic of Nerdarchy happen regularly in your life, you should sign up for Nerdarchy, the newsletter, where you get news, views, and homebrews for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. Sometimes we even talk about other role-playing games, but there will be a link down in the description for that. Not only that, you'll get a store credit coupon for $9.99.
All right, so we do these lists, it's definitely a lot of fun. We pick an attack spell, buff spell, defense spell, iconic spell, utility spell, and just for fun, we throw in a bonus spell of Overlooked.
What is your favorite spells and combinations for 5e D&D for your Eldritch Knights? Let us know down in the comments and share it with the Nerdarchy community.
Since we're talking about fighters, why don't you use all those extra attacks to click on all those fun things like liking, sharing, subscribing, even attune to that notification bell.
Yeah, subdue that algorithm for us. Hey, quick reminder, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, new Nerdarchy videos, so come on back to the channel, see what we're talking about.
So first up, we have our attack spell, and for this, we're looking at Thunder Wave. It's first level, casting time of an action. Range area is self, and then a 15-foot cube. A verbal somatic, duration is instantaneous. It's evocation, it has a con save, and its damage is thunder. A wave of thunderous force sweeps out from you. Each creature in a 15-foot cube originating from you must make a con save. On a failed save, they take 2d8 thunder damage and are pushed 10 feet. On a successful save, the creature takes half as much damage and not pushed. In addition, unsecured objects that are completely within the area of effect are automatically pushed 10 feet from you by the spell's effect, and the spell emits a thunderous boom, audible out to 300 feet. When you cast this spell using a spell slot of second level or higher, the damage increases by 1d8 for each spell slot above first.
Yeah, Thunder Wave is a great attack spell for first level, any level really, because one, you're using thunder damage, and it's one of the more rare damage types, so there isn't going to be a ton of things that are resistant and immune to it. You have a control effect where you can push, which is awesome, especially if you happen to be a polearm fighter and using feats like Sentinel and Polearm Master. That's going to make this extra effective for you. They try and come in at you, you stop them with your polearm, they manage to get into you, then you hit them with Thunder Wave, knocking them back. Wash, rinse, repeat.
Yeah, it's a great tactic. It's useful for a lot of things. Only downside is, if you're trying to be stealthy, this ain't the spell to use.
Right, but then it could also double as a warning if you needed to do that as well. So you got some utility in there.
Hey.
Next up is our buff spell, and for that we're going to go to False Life. We have to use that any other spell in order to take this, but that's okay. I think it's worth it. It's a first level spell that's an action to cast. Range area self, verbal, somatic, and material components. Duration is a whopping hour and no concentration. School is necromancy, attack save none, damage effect buff. Bolstering yourself with a necromantic facsimile of life, you gain a die 4+4 temporary hit points for the duration. At higher levels, you can cast this spell using a spell slot of second level or higher and gain 5 additional temporary hit points for each slot level above first. So this is great for just buffing your hit points. It lasts a long time. You don't have to concentrate when you got it. So I feel like it comes in pretty handy.
Yeah, and what fighter doesn't want more hit points, whether they be temporarily or not? It's definitely a great spell and definitely a good pick for your off school. For our defensive spell, we're looking at Shield. It's first level. Casting time of a reaction. Range is self. Verbal somatic. Duration is a round. School is abjuration. No attack. And your effect is warding. An invisible barrier of magical force appears and protects you. Until the start of your next turn, you have a +5 bonus to AC, including against the triggering attack, and you take no damage from magic missile.
Shield is an awesome defensive spell. Being able to use it as a reaction, so you only use it when you need it. Adding 5 to your armor class is awesome. So many times in our games, The DM is like, that's a dirty 20 to hit you. And you're like, I don't think so because I cast shield. And, the best defense is not taking any damage at all. And it helps us preserve those extra temporary hit points for False Life, making that spell more useful as well.
It's really great. And as Dave says, we've used this time and time again. And anytime we talk about a defensive character build, like shield is part of that calculation because it's just great. It stops a powerful spell that is used quite often, and it stops many attacks from hitting, and that persists. So like a lot of times it's like, okay, we got a 17, 18, 19, and a 20 to hit you, with 4 attacks, and you're like, all right, I got a 17 armor class, I cast shield and I stop all of them. Yeah, this is fantastic. I'll just do that.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that it lasts the whole round is really great. I mean, there's some things that you can use like defensive duelist, right? Where you can use reaction with a feat to get, a up to a +6 to your armor class versus 1 attack.
One.
Worst feat ever. You can fight me in the comments over that. So next up is our iconic spell. I mean, is there a spell more iconic than Magic Missile? I don't think so. How else are you going to attack the darkness?
I mean, come on, isn't the phrase "I cast Magic Missile" a thing? Like,
it is totally a thing, and it's a first level spell kind of thing with a casting time of 1 action, a range of 120 feet, verbal somatic, duration instantaneous, school evocation, attack save none, damage effect force. You create 3 glowing darts of magical force. Each dart hits a creature of your choice that you can see within range. A dart deals a die 4 +1 force damage to its target. The darts all strike simultaneously. You can direct them to hit 1 creature or several. At higher levels, when you cast a spell using a spell slot of 2nd level or higher, the spell creates 1 more dart for each slot above 1st level. I mean, it's Magic Missile. It's super iconic. It's also super useful too, right? Because not a lot of things resist or are immune to force damage. At a range of 120 feet, that gives you a ranged attack if you need one. If something you just can't hit it for whatever reason, well, with Magic Missile, you don't have to worry about making attack rolls. Does the thing have magic resistance and is great at making saving throws? Well, you don't get to make any saving throws here. You're just going to give it damage. And in our own games, I have used a 9th level slot to cast Magic Missile, and I'm pretty sure I also action surged and then did it with like an 8th level slot to do like 70 points of force damage. All right, for the slots I used, it was not great, but I was really annoyed and didn't have great options at the time.
It was pretty amusing. There were several rounds of fighting an end boss kind of scenario. The amount of the amount of armor class that was up against this thing, it just was not hitting. So he was like, you know what, forget this, Magic Missile. And I was in some cases like, well, do I cast shield or do I not? It can be amusing, it can be fun, but
that is your one true bane though with Magic Missile shield.
It is definitely a lot of fun, and we have seen Magic Missile used at every spell slot that is available. And I'm certain that many wizards are like, why can't I have a 10th level spell slot just for more Magic Missile?
I kind of wish shield deflected Magic Missile back at the caster, so then they could cast shield themselves and you can just basically play wizard pong.
Well, perhaps we should create a higher level shield spell just for that. So let us know in the comments if you want to see that happen. So we're going to move on over to our utility spell, and for that we have Alarm. Now, this is a ritual spell, which I know Eldritch Knights do not have ritual casting, but if you happen to get it from somewhere else, you might be able to put this in your book. It's a 1st level, casting time 1 minute, range is 30 feet, verbal somatic material, duration is 8 hours, school is abjuration, no save, and your effect is detection. You set an alarm against unwanted intrusion. Choose a door, window, or an area within range that is no larger than a 20-foot cube. Until the spell ends, an alarm alerts you whenever a tiny or larger creature enters the warded area. When you cast the spell, you can designate creatures that won't set off the alarm. You can also choose whether the alarm is mental or audible. A mental alarm alerts you with a ping in your mind if you are within 1 mile of the warded area. The ping awakens you even if you are sleeping. An audible alarm produces the sound of a handbell for 10 seconds within 60 feet.
I mean, it's a great spell for when you're setting watch and, you don't trust the rogue to stay awake all night. So, you cast it. So if something tries to sneak into your camp, it's going to set the alarm off. It'll wake you up, or maybe it'll wake everybody up. Maybe you're staying in a shady tavern. You cast it on your room. Then you don't have to worry about setting watch maybe, and can rest the full night without having to break up your sleep. You've been drinking all night anyway and partying after hard adventures. You don't want to be bothered. Boom, alarm spell, and then you can go to sleep.
That makes perfect sense to me.
So next up, and finally, we have our overlooked spell. And for that, we've got Earth Tremor, first level spell with a casting time of 1 action. It's a range area of 10 foot, verbal somatic components, instantaneous, evocation is the school, and it's the attack save is a dex save. Damage effect is bludgeoning. You cause a tremor in the ground within range. Each creature other than you in the area must make a dexterity saving throw. On a failed save, a creature takes a die 6 bludgeoning damage and is knocked prone. If the ground in the area is loose earth or stone, it becomes difficult terrain until cleared, with each 5 foot diameter portion requiring at least a minute to clear by hand. At higher levels, when you cast a spell using a spell slot of 2nd level or higher, the damage increases by a die 6 for each slot above 1st level. So everything within 10 foot of you, you can make, take, bludgeoning damage and knock them prone, which is a warrior that gives you advantage in the fight. You're creating difficult terrain all around you. So, it's not bad at all.
While this spell happens to be save or suck, it does offer a number of other options. If you've got time to set up a battlefield, this will allow you to kind of create a whole bunch of difficult terrain, allowing the enemy to have to take longer to get across, allowing your ranged combatants to be able to soften them up before they get to you. And then you could wind up coupling this with some other spells, either with things that you have or with, things that your other allies are going to be able to use as well. So it's not the ideal. It's not our attack spell, but it has a lot of use. And that's why we look at it as the overlooked.
Also, even if they make their saving throw, it still will create the difficult terrain too. So you might even still be able to benefit and use it to combo with other spells. Like we talked about, if you're a polearm master with Sentinel, that's going to be helpful, even more helpful if you thunder wave them away from you first. So there are ways to make this even more useful. Want another video about D&D spells? Then check out the 5 best D&D spells for an evil spellcaster.
If you'd like to help support Nerdarchy to keep making content like this, why not check us out over on Patreon?
As a thank you, you'll receive 5e content for players and DMs alike, a chance to game with us, and more.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.